Bing, 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 bang, bang, bing, bing, bang, 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 bang. Episode 2, it's here. Except it wasn't. This is really episode 3, but I'm going to call it 2. Anyway, so I recorded. Oh, wait, before I go too far, this is the Our Sky podcast, Our Sky Community Podcast. And I'm your sole host at the moment, Uyghur the Farmer, also known as Aaron in real life. And yeah, it's a bit different today. So I was going to do a double header, record a podcast this morning, and then on the way home, I thought I'd do another podcast. And actually, I thought it worked out pretty good. But then I got home, was sitting on my bike, and I thought I'd trim the audio. But I did it in SoundCloud, and it's really crappy in the app. And anyway, I thought I trimmed it properly, and then I posted it. And when I actually posted it and shared it and went to listen to it again, there was actually nothing. And there's no record of me recording it. It was just gone. And so, yeah, I have a bit of a pet peeve myself, in that I hate repeating myself. I've worked really hard on it. I think it kind of relates back to, like I was saying before, as a kid and growing up, and I'd say until recently, maybe the last couple of years, I've had a really bad stutter. So it was enough work getting the words out the first time, and to repeat something the second time, it was just the worst. But I'm going to try it and do some more stream of consciousness. But this time, I'm not biking, I'm driving. Yes, I have my headphones on, so it's taking as much concentration as biking. And I'm driving, I'm on my way to Ottawa. I have to pick something up there, and then I'm turning around and coming back. So I thought I could do a little bit more, couple podcasts, maybe queue them up, maybe just slam them down. I'm hoping to do the same amount of time. I'll do a little bit of talking, and I'll post. I figure if I can keep these podcasts to about the length of my bike ride, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, then you don't get bored. It's a fun little distraction. And I do like the hour and a half podcasts, but you really need to be committed. And I think I'm taking a little bit more of a cue from Remy with my morning coffee, and he talks about something for a while, and then he stops talking. It ends up being about 15-20 minutes, and it's a pretty good length. Anyway, so episode 2, kind of really 3, is the missing one. And if you think about the pre-0 episode, it's really episode 4. We're going to call it episode 2. All right, episode 2. So, and I'd say the title. The title is It's a Solo Game. So, I think it was a day ago, yesterday, was announced that No Man's Sky would not require a PS Plus account. If you aren't aware, in the PlayStation world, especially with the PlayStation 4, if you want to play multiplayer game, if you want to play online with someone, so say like Destiny, and you want to play with your friends, you need a PlayStation Plus account. You can play Destiny without a PlayStation Plus, but any activity that requires, so let's say you want to do a raid, or you want to join a fire team, or you want to play the Crucible, I think, you need a PlayStation Plus account. You can just do the story mode and do missions on your own, but it's been a pretty distinguishing line that if you want to play multiplayer, you have to have a PlayStation Plus account. So, it was announced that No Man's Sky will not need a PlayStation Plus account, but it's still multiplayer. Now, the reason is because at this moment, and I say at this moment, but at this moment, No Man's Sky is it's a solo game. There is a multiplayer component to it in terms of if you're the first one to discover a planet or a new species, you can name that species or planet and your name gets tagged with it. So if in a year or two someone else stumbles across that planet, you got your little flag there. Ding, bung, bung, bung. There's your flag. It's yours. Have fun. But no multiplayer? No player versus player combat? Well, what does that mean? Well, there's a pretty good chance that you may never see anyone. So the way it works is that I would say the only stated goal so far in No Man's Sky is to reach the center of the universe. It's probably would say that's the end game of the game, but at that point the game kind of begins. But in the meantime, the universe is as big as the universe, and all the player-controlled players spawn in different areas, and I'm pretty sure it's been stated that it's different areas of the same galaxy. So there are millions of galaxies in the universe, and there are most likely hundreds of thousands of solar systems inside of a galaxy, if it's anything like our universe. So that's kind of like, let's say 1 million people play No Man's Sky. That's like 1 million people being distributed across the Milky Way. Look, if you put 1 million people on Earth, the chances that they would ever find each other are slim to none. So I think, whether or not No Man's Sky made an argument for it or someone at Sony made an argument for it, however the case, No Man's Sky is essentially a single-player game. Now, let's imagine at the center of the universe is a single anomaly. Maybe it's a black hole, maybe it's a planet, maybe it's a big Pokemon, and so you've spent all this time going to all the different planets, catching all the creatures, tagging them, being friends with them, feeding them, doing all your fun things, never seeing another player character, and you get to the center of the universe, and all of a sudden everyone's at the center of the universe. Well, now it's a massively multiplayer online game. You have millions of players at the center of the universe. So, how long will that take? Maybe it'll take a year. Maybe at that point, a PlayStation Plus account will be required. Or maybe it won't. And here's the next thing why I say even it still can be considered solo. It's been stated by Sean that there is, Sean Murray, who's the founder of Hello Games, that there is no indication that a ship that you see or an NPC that you see is or is not a player-controlled player. There's no indication. So it's quite possible that you and your friend, after a couple months, fly into the same planetary system, and you are about to dock at a space station, and you see a ship fly from the surface of the planet and go to that same space station, which happens all the time because the world's full of NPCs, and they are trading, and they are mining, and they are going about their business, and you may see another ship and think nothing of it, and that was in fact a player. Or you may be a pirate, and you may shoot up a ship, and it blows up, and you've just killed a player. Now, what I've heard is that if you kill someone, there's an indication that it's a player. But, again, it's like the world is populated with existing cultures, existing species, existing trade routes, and what it feels like is that as players load up the game and create a character for the first time, they take over a spot of one of the NPCs, sort of like the agents in the Matrix. That's kind of how you take over someone's life. They have a ship, and because there's a bazillion different worlds, quintillion worlds, and so it's very likely that everyone, or there's a small percentage, a million of a quintillion is some fraction of a bazillion zeros of a percent chance that those people have ships. So you get a ship and you go on your way. Now, let's say you're standing on a planet and there's a bunch of characters, NPCs that go by and they look crazy alien. They might be player control players because you do not know what you look like. And that's been stated in the game. You do not know what you look like until another player looks at you and tells you what you look like. Now, how crazy is that? Now all of a sudden, it's like, you're not all going to look like humans. Why would you look like humans? Most likely, you are going to spawn in a planetary system, and your character will look like those characters of that planetary system, or the humanoids or whatever of that planetary system. But if you get spawned on some other area of the galaxy, you're going to look different. It's going to be like the Star Trek thing, if you're born on Romulus, or if you're born on Earth, you're going to look different. So again, there's a really good chance that just because you see a character does not mean that they are player controlled. So basically, at this point, it looks like it's a solo game, and it could be solo permanently, which is great for gamers on a budget or gamers who don't want to be on the internet, because you don't have to sync your discoveries. Or you could play offline. Say you have a house in the country and you have really crappy internet, you could play. And once a week, you bring your PS4 in to McDonald's or the library, and you just power it up, and it syncs your results. It just sounds kind of amazing, and I know a lot of solo players have been crying for a good solo game. So yeah, it's a solo game. So I'm at 12 minutes. So let's talk a little bit more. So what does that mean? Okay, so it's a solo game. It's multiplayer. You don't know if they're human characters. So it all of a sudden raises fairly significant moral dilemmas. If you are a person that every planet you see, you carpet bomb it, and you kill all the creatures, and you fight off the sentinels, and you lay waste to everything, and every convoy you see, you're blowing it out of the sky, and you are just a real jerk. Well, it's quite possible that you're going to be killing a lot of players along the way. And you will quickly know that, because, once a person gets killed, they'll probably be told who they got killed by, and all of a sudden they realize that they got killed by you, and, who knows what would happen. I guess it would be the law of space, and we'd see how that works out. Or you could treat every encounter like a first encounter and be friendly with shields down until it's called for. And so, yeah, that's how I think I'm going to play it. Probably a bit of a pacifist build, because, well, that's kind of who I am at heart. I'm an adventurer, but I would say I'm a pacifist as well. And I'm in it to explore. I'm in it to figure out mechanics and to figure out things. And look, if I enter in a system and it's crazy hostile and they're blowing me out of the sky, okay, well, I'm going to fight back. But just to blow up convoys for the sake of blowing up, nah, I don't think I'll do that. And you know what would be awesome is if you are flying around and you run into another player character. If you're a pacifist, then you basically have two options. Watch them sail by, or maybe give them a wave and you're on your way, or maybe at that point is when you can team up and you start going on adventures together, and you make a home planet base, and you kind of know that, every once in a while you'll stop by the planet and set up a beacon. All these game mechanics, we don't know how it's going to work. And that leads into how multiplayer might work, right? You don't need a specific PvP match, because when the time comes and you find enough of a team, then if you want to do Dark Zone style, like, rating of other players, well, you have your crew and you can go out and you can be a bunch of badasses. Or if you want to set up a friendly match of, you drop some cargo or you drop some materials, and you have two teams and they've dropped materials, and then you say go, and then the two teams basically battle each other out, and whoever wins gets all the loot. And now all of a sudden you have kind of a capture the flag system, a risk and reward system, and it's an interesting thing to think about, because countries don't need PvP matches to do wars. They just fucking invade the country and they just do it. And yeah, sometimes rules of war get sort of drawn up, but it doesn't seem to me that you need to have a PvP menu that basically says, I want to do this, because, like, how would that even, I don't even almost know how that would work. Like, maybe when you're at the center of the universe and everyone is existing in a solar system, but there's a whole universe to explore. So if your whole point is to get to one zone where you can just exist and do PvP, well, all power to you. But I don't know. I think I'd much rather have the ad hoc feeling. So then again, it's still maybe even as solo, because it's almost like you can imagine if the AI was good enough, you could, like, team up with AI. Like, I still even remember fondly, like, the X-Wing versus TIE Fighter games, and you could have your squad of, TIE fighters, and you go off and you command them to do things, and, maybe it'll work that way. Maybe you can hire AI ships. And anyway, starting to ramble, losing my train of thought. But anyway, those are my thoughts on why I think it's going to be a really great game, badass game. I'm pretty psyched that it's kind of solo focused, and I'm excited to see kind of how it evolves and how it continues. And I really have no expectations about this game. Even if it was a single planet, I think I'd love it. But it's so much more than that. So where can you find me? Well, I guess the main place where I'm hanging out is Twitter at rsky_community. I also have a website, rsky.space, like OWRSKY.space, and from there you can hook up all the other places. I'm not going to run a forum because the guys at the No Man's Sky have an amazing forum. I'm a mod there, and some really good discussions, some really amazing discussions. And yeah, and so I'm just going to do this podcast, but again, a big note, it's a community podcast. So if you have something that you want to blab on about, if someone wants to do interviews, if you want to have some talking points or have some discussions, then be my guest. Record something, give it to me in an audio file, and I'll shove it up there on SoundCloud, and then it goes out to everywhere. Google Play and iTunes and YouTube. I want to have an automated YouTube thing. I'll figure that out. And yeah, and that's how we'll do it. So again, it's the Our Sky Community Podcast. My name is Uyghur the Farmer, and I don't know. I haven't decided if I'm going to do a bing bong out. No, I think I'll just do bing bongs at the beginning. All right. So, and as always, be excellent to one another and party on, dude. Aaron out.